We have a question around Aaron Banks. Did Aaron Banks practice today?
Yes, he did.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
he's back.
that's positive. What's your take on Banks? I will say that I initially was pumping the brakes on any type of panic. It just is absurd to me to really allow yourself to say, he's a bust at this early. But the way that preseason ended, I had to change my tune a little bit to where I think it's reasonable to have concern because of where you drafted him. Interior offensive line, you're looking for an immediate contributor when you take someone at that point in the second round. And at this point, and let me preface it by saying I like Brunskill as an average or above average right guard, above average in run blocking and maybe average to slightly below average in pass blocking if you see it the same.
Mhm.
So it wasn't an easy task, but I think it's potentially time to keep your eye on it.
The tough thing with Banks is he definitely was struggling, right? He didn't look like he was a top guy right away. The problem though is he got hurt in that first preseason game, and so
Right.
he missed the rest of the preseason. And if you go back, and Jalen Moore wasn't necessarily all that great week one of the preseason either, but he got better the further we went along. All these rookies have kind of been in that same boat, other than Sermon. All the other rookies have been in that, running with the twos, and then eventually you start to see them maybe running some with the ones, and they're looking better and improving. Diamador Lenore, Talanoa Hufanga, Jalen Moore, those guys all got more and more reps as the preseason went on, and so that's why we saw them improve. That didn't happen with Banks. So Banks is behind the eight ball because he missed 3 weeks. He was already struggling to begin with. If I'm not somebody who is pushing the panic button on this. I do understand the concern, but I don't say that I don't agree with anybody that says it's a whiff or a bust or any of those kind of things. Both of which I've heard at times today.
Yep. Yep. I have definitely heard at least the rumblings of that. And I agree that it seems far too early. The struggles that you did see, did you observe them to be more physical struggles or mental struggles? Acknowledging that he did switch sides of the line, which I'm sure is no easy task, especially in a transition from college to the NFL.
The issues that I was seeing were physical. It was not getting his hands into the right positions. It was his steps being too big, little things like that. Those are the coaching points that I saw them working on with him specifically. Stopping to watch him because there was a couple of days where there was one day in particular where I was walking by and the coaches were caught my attention, so I stopped and watched because they were really working really hard with him one on one during drills. And that was really what they were talking about, was just because with the scheme, you think of, we think about, steps and having big steps, but when you're an offensive lineman, those steps are really short, choppy steps. And so we're not talking about him taking a massive step like this. We're just talking, he basically just needs to pick his foot up and bring it right back down. And so to keep his balance and those kind of things. So those were the teaching points that I think he was missing on. And, he was struggling with guys with the speed of the game a little bit to his outside. It was just going to take him a little bit to adjust to catching that guy on his right shoulder instead of his left.
And those all sound like reasonable things for a rookie to be working on, and perhaps things that he would have improved on significantly had he those additional 3 weeks that the other rookies did. So hopefully he can make that progression. I'm sure that it's much harder now to make the progression. Now that we go into the year with Brunskill starting at right guard, it seems more difficult to overtake Brunskill without some type of an injury situation.
Well, it all depends. Brunskill, I think, at this point is the weakest link on the offensive line. At one point, I had thought I would have said it was Laken Tomlinson, but now with Brunskill starting at right guard, I think it's more of Brunskill. So if he struggles quite a bit, that's where Banks is going to might be getting thrown into the fire. He's going to have to come back and play, and maybe throw him out there with the starters. And sometimes these guys play better when they're playing with the ones, just because they have better players around them and they have to step up. And there's just something about it when you have to do that. You tend to kind of raise your level of play to what you have around you.
And the offensive line is most definitely a full unit that the play of one dictates the other. The entire unit of five work together cohesively in order to provide that protection. And so, to your point, being able to play with the individuals that are starting that have greater confidence, that are more sure in what they're doing, and a center who is very confident in pointing out protections and schemes may help him out in that regard.
Oh, definitely. And I think on top of that, those guys are gonna, having the starters out there with you, they're gonna chew you out. They're gonna, and just that in that chewing out process, you're gonna get better. That's what I saw that with Jalen Moore after week one. He was out there having to play because if you remember, Trent Williams hurt his knee at the beginning of the following week, so he was out there all the time. He was struggling really bad, and Laken Tomlinson was. You could see that he was frustrated with them. But as practice went on, they took up, the way that 49ers run practice, they do two different team periods. They do a team period, then they take a break and come back. And then that group, in that his performance in the first session compared to the second was completely different. He was so much better in the second.
Yeah, it really is a shame that we didn't get to see that same type of progression from Banks, because as good as Moore may have looked for a rookie, I would have loved to have the freedom of Brunskill as our primary backup for the vast majority of the line. That would have been a luxury had we been able to accomplish it. Well, I have here a nice comment for us. Joe Montana has stepped into the chat and indicated he is, in fact, a huge fan of Jack and I. Joe, the feeling is mutual. You are my favorite quarterback of all time. Amin is absolutely crazy. You are the GOAT. There is no question about it. Joe Cool is at the top of the list.
Yeah.